This may come as a shock to you, as 9 in every 10 women already have a Pinterest board ready for a wedding they don't even have on the schedule. Heck, they don't even have a boyfriend. But according to @TikTok_HGTV5, there's apparently new research that suggests that men are more apt to want marriage than women at this point.
Men are now more likely than women to say that it's important to them to get married.
And is that new?
Yes. In the last few decades, that line has crossed. And so one of the remaining myths is marriage is a thing that women want and that men have to be kind of tricked or coerced into. If anything, it's the other way around now.
I believe them because they have an accent.
Yeah, it's Stephen Bartlett from Diary of a CEO. He's very convincing no matter what he says. So apparently now men are want marriage more than women, which honestly doesn't shock me that much. And maybe it's because I grew up in the South and I have a brother who is like actively seeking out his wife. He's like, I need to get married and have kids ASAP. I think women are now more prone to want to be independent because this is like the first generation where we haven't really been forced into anything.
Do you know why? I think it's because they were listening to the Bert Show and heard that men who are married live longer.
Yeah, that's it. That's for sure.
You know, I read a stat the other day that says that's only true for men who are not black.
What?
Seriously.
Say
They said it's some type of science that backs up the fact that for some reason the men only live longer and make more money in marriages if they are not black. That's true for every other ethnicity of man.
No kidding.
Seriously.
Wild.
Wow.
Did you find that just so you didn't have to get married?
No.
That was from the University of Momich.
It does help the cause. But nah, I really found that.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Look, I want to circle back to a debate we were having on the show yesterday. And I realized after the show, in looking back, like, you ever get into like a debate and you start digging in just for the sake of digging in because you want to win? I think I got in there yesterday with Kristen because I was talking about a bunch of stuff I don't know about. So yesterday we were talking, there was an email, but it was about people being pressured into having kids.
It was John Cena.
Right, John Cena being pressured into having kids. And I made the comment that, look, if somebody doesn't want to have kids, don't pressure them into it to have kids because they probably won't be good at it. If you've been a mom that was pressured into having a kid and you never wanted one in the first place, my guess is you're not going to be great at it. So, and I was taking that from experience in every area except motherhood because quite honestly, and here's where I'm going with this, I've never met a woman that felt like she was forced to have kids by parents or people around her. So she's just like, you know what? Okay, I'll give it a try. And she had kids, right? And Kristen was arguing the other side. So what I would like before hearing Kristen again is, and we can put you on the voice disguiser, if you are a woman and you were forced, you really feel forced or pressured into having kids, what did that look like? Because I have never met one. So yesterday I had an opinion on something that I really have no experience in. Well,
the stance that you were taking is that if a woman is forced to have a kid, she can't be a good mom. That's why I was like, I don't subscribe to that. I have had not extensive experience, but I know someone who accidentally got pregnant, did not want to have a kid, but did have a kid, and she's a fantastic mom.
But is that being pressured? That to me, that feels very different than she didn't get pressured into having a kid. She got pregnant. Pressure to me would be like your parents saying you got to have a kid, or you're feeling it at church, or you're feeling it at friends. So finally you're just like, okay, I'm giving into the pressure and I'm just going to have a kid, even though you don't really want one.
And I feel like if you are, nobody should ever pressure you to do anything. But if you do find yourself in that position where it wasn't your idea, you didn't want it, but you did it for the sake of others, I don't think that means you're going to be a bad mom. I think that means you were in a position that was wholly unfair. But I know plenty of people who intentionally had children and they suck as parents. So I want to believe that the same is true for the other side, that if you are forced to have a child, that does not automatically mean that you're going to be a bad parent.
And I think where I was coming from was every area outside of motherhood. Like if Mo forces me to play a game of basketball and I don't want to, and Mo starts giving me pressure and pressure and pressure and pressure, and I'm just going out there and I suck at it, I'm not going to enjoy that, right? But that's very different than having kids. Like the reality of having kids and the thought of having kids are two different things.
I see what you're saying, but I also feel like having a kid is so life changing for a lot of different people. Like some people become a completely different person. So you may feel that way, but then that child just does something to you and something clicks, and then before you know it, that might be all you want to do is be an amazing parent.
I have never met a woman that has said, yes, I was definitely, I had a kid because I was pressured into it. Good morning, Jessica. You are part of the Bert Show. Hi.
Hi, how are y'all?
Good. Thank you for joining us. You're on The Voice Disguiser.
Okay. So I would just say, so I'd been married with my husband. We were engaged for 5 years before we got married. So my grandparents, my family really loved him. We're still together. But once we were approaching our 1 year anniversary, it just kept getting brought up more and more. Like every time I see my grandparents, they'd be like, we're not getting any younger. We're not getting any younger. When are we going to have some grandkids, and we were kind of the first couple in the family that were doing things right, like traditionally dating first and then married and then kids. So they were just really excited for us, and I definitely was feeling more and more pressure as we were married longer. So by our 1 year anniversary, we did decide to take the jump and decided to kind of give up the independence that we had and enjoyed, because I just really wanted to see my grandparents holding my own child. Like that was something that I really wanted. So we did make that decision, and I totally don't regret it. Unfortunately, my grandfather did pass when I was 8 months pregnant with her. So that was really, really hard. But I don't regret anything, and I would say that I'm a wonderful mom. I'm now a stay-at-home mom. And things have just changed, but all for the better. So I think you can kind of be pressured and things can be twisted the way, you didn't necessarily plan. But it can always turn out for the best.
Yeah, appreciate you calling. Thank you. Okay, so there you go. She was pressured and she thinks she's a great mom. Hey, Christy, good morning. You're part of the Bert Show. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so you were pressured and you finally gave in to it. You're like, all right, Scarlett, I'll just have a child.
Well, it wasn't me. It was my sister-in-law.
Okay.
She got married to her husband, and beforehand they said no kids. They were on board, both of them. Even the husband's like, yeah, no kids. His family, brothers and sisters, started having babies. So he got baby fever. He started trying to pressure her into it. She said no. And eventually she gave in, and she has two. And they have a nanny, and she's a good mom when she's around.
She's a good mom when she's around. Well, it wasn't a complete endorsement.
Okay.
But it does happen quite a bit, and you were right.
Yeah.
The Bert Show.